Hi everyone, we are back for another weather extra update. So here's what we're looking at. Still seeing a lot of that sleet in the forecast for a lot of these areas. Some folks may see more freezing rain out of this, and that's really just because that warm nose is poking through. And as you can see right around Fayette County, that's what we're looking at right now, seeing that warm nose there. So see that the Fayette area, that's what we're going to look at for the next couple of hours, seeing that rain make its way up north. So keep that in mind as you go through the rest of this evening. We'll see heavy rain chances. Now, I know some folks talked about their specific roadways being perfectly fine, not dealing with any ice, but there are a lot of areas, especially our northwest folks. As you can see here, a lot of our northwestern communities are in the thick of some of this freezing rain and sleet. Those folks are going to have a tough go of these roadways, and that's who I'm referring to when I say that there's going to be some ice accumulation, especially when we get into some of these ice potential graphics that I have. It's more so our northwestern folks that are being hit a little harder than others with some of these icy road conditions. And the icy road conditions will become a bit more widespread as we go into Sunday evening. So, I think there was a cause for concern. Some folks believed I was talking about different areas that are a little unrelated in this situation. So what we're looking at right now, ice storm warning for Lauderdale, Colbert County as well. Most of our communities, especially folks to the east right now, still dealing with winter weather advisories. This is going to roll through to Sunday evening. We're going to see a lot of that continue with those temperatures for today, still above freezing, but our grounds have made it to those lower end 30s. And we'll start to see some of our grounds be cooler, kind of letting that wet, slick water kind of sit for a while. And then once we start to see those temperatures drop with the water, the amount of rain that's accumulating from later this evening into Sunday evening, that's where we start to get that refreeze for a lot of areas. Some folks are already seeing ice on their doorstep, ice on their cars, all sorts of stuff of that nature. And that just means that those areas will see a little bit of a heavier chance of ice, a little more than some areas that your roads may be clear. Things may look fine in your neck of the woods, but you've got to remind yourself that this is a widespread event, and we're all seeing different things at different times. I know we've seen a lot of folks kind of report back that Huntsville, Madison, even the Harvest area, mostly clear. But as you can see, I'm seeing comments now. Henniger's dealing with freezing rain. We're seeing a lot of folks dealing with some sleet as well. So we're keeping that abreast for those folks that are dealing with that at the moment. And then soon enough, we'll all start to see some of that ice. I know it was more so widespread earlier in the day, but just wanting to make sure we cover all our bases and we're all understanding, coming from the same page. So ice accumulation more so at the moment expected for our northwestern communities. Northeastern communities, we could get mixed precipitation and slick roads because we are going to see a heavier chance of rain going into those overnight hours. So let's go ahead and look at what we're expecting for our ice potential here. This is picking up from tonight into Sunday morning. So it's going to be a different story when we look at Sunday evening into Monday morning. We'll shift to that once we go through the rest of tonight. But right now we're seeing about a 1/4 inch for Rainsville, and above that over in Henniger. And the deal with that is the fact that when you get to about a 1/4 inch, what we're expecting to see is the potential for accumulation on roadways. It could cause minor power outages for a couple areas. You get that ice kind of sitting on those power lines there, and that becomes a concern. You even also can have the same issue arise with trees. You get the ice kind of on branches and everything. If you've got some branches hanging over in your backyard, you may see some branches out and about going into maybe Sunday evening when this all kind of freezes back over. And the other portion that kind of plays into that refreeze as well for some of these areas that are already seeing an ice potential, what plays into that is the fact that we've got these wind gusts around 15 or so miles per hour picking up as we go into those overnight hours. So lots of moving parts to create the foundation of ice that some areas already have. And like I mentioned, some areas don't have that foundation of ice, but they do have the cool enough roadways that when the rain begins to fall, we'll start to see some of that stick around a little longer than anticipated, and could give a potential for some patchy black ice as we go in and around the rest of this weekend into Sunday afternoon and evening as well. So through this evening, though, with a lot of these areas in the Northwest, this is over to our Shoals community. Lots of these folks are already seeing sleet at the moment, as we saw with our radar a little bit ago. And what we're seeing from that at this rate is the fact that they're already dealing with that level of ice kind of accumulating for them. So our biggest concern is the amount that they may be seeing. They are getting closer to that 1/4 inch. That does prove an issue to be made out of roadways as well as power lines, like I mentioned. A lot of smaller detail issues that create larger problems in the long run. And the reason we've also kind of stretched this out for our first alert days to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday was the movement of this winter storm that's across the nation. The movement of it is all this weekend. But our concerns locally also lie in the fact that we have Sunday evening to worry about as well, going into Monday, and for some areas, especially our northwestern areas and Jackson, DeKalb County, we're looking at Monday and Tuesday potentially being an issue. Once we look into how things shape up Monday night rolling into Sunday night rolling into Monday, we'll look at how things shape up for Monday going into Tuesday. We know that may be the issue to start the week. Schools have already canceled. We've got a lot of churches messaging us and posting on their own pages that they will be postponing tomorrow, even though tomorrow is more so a rain event. The fact that it is going to drop, those temperatures drop, we get that strong wind gust that's going to accelerate that ice over. That's what our concern is for our metro areas that seem to have been only hit with some of the ice potential earlier this morning. So with that being said, wanting to make sure we are all seeing the full sides of everything. So let me check in for a couple areas. I know we have a few messages here. Yes, for Henniger and Bryant, we are still seeing some of the sleet making its way through there as well. That mix there, ice buildup in Oakland, west of Florence. And yes, these are these areas that I'm showing here with this potential ice. There's definitely that ice buildup for a lot of those areas that are in these counties pictured here. The big deal is the fact that once we get to about a 1/4 inch, that's when we start to see a little bit of those smaller issues build up going into the rest of this weather process. Ice measurements in Lauderdale County. I did see in the NWS weather chat where we are working to get that fully confirmed to get some large scale numbers, but right now these are the numbers as they stand, and they're for each city, so I don't think they have a full one yet. They usually put this out at the end of a process, and I'm going to check and make sure that they haven't added anything else. But as I've last seen, it's usually done at the end of a big event like this, and then we kind of accumulate across the board and figure out which areas saw what. So just keeping that on the forefront. I believe Jackson County, though, EMA reported that they have had some weather-related injuries, and that's from folks slipping on some of this black ice. So that's another thing. I know some apartment complexes have sent out some messages, and a couple of local community areas have sent out some warnings as well. We're seeing some of these sidewalks freeze over as well. So keep that in mind as you make your plans about the next day or so, because again, we're seeing this rain moving in. It's a warm nose coming in, and that's going to kind of give us that opportunity to see some melting. But some areas like our northwestern corner of Alabama, and then even our Tennessee counties that we do cover, it's going to be tough going for them, because even though that rain does melt some of it away, it may not melt all of it away for them. And even still, with it being so chilly in those areas, they're still seeing a little bit of sleet. And I'll walk you through that with our hour by hour. So right now, we're expecting to see some of that rain increase going into the next hour or so. But you can see where Phil Campbell and surrounding areas are seeing a bit of that winter mix continuing through the afternoon hours. And if you look in the top left, you can watch that wind speed there as well, around 10 miles per hour. Anytime we get to about a wind gust of about 20 to 30, that definitely accelerates that ice rate. So when we start to see that icing over, that kind of accelerates with that. So let's see. I know some folks have a couple of questions. How much ice for Henniger? So far with Henniger, we were seeing a little over a quarter inch. I believe that was the last guidance that was sent out. These previous guidance has been pretty persistent on about a quarter inch or just over that, about not even close to a half inch, but just over that quarter inch there for you. So looking through the rest of tonight, we'll see a lot of those rain chances moving in later this evening. And the concern is, again, that we'll see the setup for ice in those areas that are mostly covered. We'll see some of that melt away, but it may not melt all of it away. And even still, this is going to provide a foundation of wet ground to go into our Sunday, where Sunday is full of rain. And then we get into those evening hours where things dry out, but we're left with slick roadways, and that's going to create some patchy black ice for us. And some areas may come across some roadways that are closed. So again, overnight tonight, we'll see rain chances increasing, and then we'll see a good deal of a brief, very brief overnight, late night dry condition. As we get to 11 o'clock is when we'll start to see complete dry conditions. But you'll notice right at 2, 3 a.m., we're right back in the thick of it. And this is 6 a.m. here. And we still have some of that winter precipitation there. Around Fort Payne at 35 degrees, they'll see a good deal of freezing rain to sleet in the mix there. But as we go through those morning hours for Sunday, we still have a decent breeze as well, about 11 miles per hour throughout the morning. It kind of tapers off as we get to around 10 a.m., but you can see the heaviest of these showers around most of our southern community. And this shower is moving north, and that's what that warm nose is moving through at the current moment. We'll see it over us by Sunday morning. So looking into the rest of your afternoon for Sunday, things start to clear out for our western communities just after noon. We'll start to see that wind speed pick up, but you can see even in the west, once that rain leaves, we start to see that temperature drop back into those low end 30s, around freezing and below it, seeing 20s right around 6 o'clock in our Sunday evening as well. Keeping it pretty overcast. Temperatures will drop for a lot of us in those 20s by that point. We'll start to see that overnight, and that's where we start to get into that risk of seeing a refreeze for some of those northwestern communities and a freeze for the areas that haven't seen one thus far. So we'll pick that wind speed up as well. Looking in the top corner there, that's about 15 miles per hour. So we're expecting a lot of these areas to come across some patchy ice at the very minimum. But again, these areas in the northwest that are already at 24 degrees at 8 p.m. tomorrow night, they could see a stronger chance of that ice potential. And even Fort Payne, that had some of that freezing rain sleet mix earlier Sunday afternoon, still could be a greater chance for those areas as well, especially with this wind speed picking up. Again, accelerates that frost over that we start to see. So keep that in mind as we go about these plans. I think so far I haven't seen any other major updates to our weather chat. So keeping that on the forefront here and double checking everything. As mentioned, I know a lot of folks are concerned about their neck of the woods and how things are looking so far, but we're about to see some of that rain for our southern communities, and our northwestern communities are still seeing a good deal of that sleet. So afternoon planners still keeping it in those low end 30s as we go into the evening. Rain chances will start to bring things up to the mid and upper 30s, some areas right around 40, but even still, we'll see rain chances throughout most of the overnight hours. Could incur a little lightning, but we aren't really concerned with severe thunderstorms at this moment because it's too cold for anything to kick off the way that it should for a severe thunderstorm. So most of our concern lies in the fact that we could see that refreeze after the fact. So don't be alarmed with any of the lightning that you may see and any thunder that you may possibly hear. So keep that in mind. It's a little too cold for anything to get started. But here's what we're looking at for the next couple of days. We've got our lows overnight for Sunday into Monday, dropping to about 14 degrees. That is a significant drop. Highs on Monday expected to be about 26. And that's why we're already kind of concerned and looking at Monday with a lot of those road closures. Schools are already making the decisions to close as well, because there's a lot of assessing that we would have to do post these showers on Sunday. Once everything kind of settles Sunday night, we have to do a lot of reassessment to see how Monday and even Tuesday will shake out, because Monday night lows go into about 11 degrees into Tuesday morning. So we're trying to see how each day is going to shape up. And I know some folks are already looking ahead into next week, where it seems as though we may have a setup for another type of winter storm of sorts. We're working on this current as we sit in it now, casting. We're working on this as it comes. And with next week's potential for some winter weather, we usually will be able to get some of a better grasp on that by Monday and Tuesday. So once we push through this and reassess how everything's going, we'll give a look and have you updated as far as how things will change going into the next week. But for right now, we're focused on what's happening at the moment, and we'll see how things shape up for next week, because temperatures even next week aren't looking too rough to predict that to go back into a below average situation. So as always, we'll keep you up to date as things change. And with that, we want to make sure that everyone is staying safe, staying off the roadways, and also make sure that you are checking on your pets, your plants, your neighbors, everything in between. There's a lot of moving parts here, so please make sure you are doing your best to stay indoors and do everything that you can to stay off the roadways, especially as we go into Sunday evening. So with that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. We'll be back 5, 6, and even 10 o'clock. There will be some weather extra updates in the mix as well tonight. Once Brad comes in, we'll go ahead and tackle that as we see fit. But hopefully you're all staying safe. And with that, I will see you later on this evening. Have a good one.